Any other questions? I'm not sure. So the one point that I was going to make now, we have just a little bit of time with the substance data life cycle, because it sort of ties into what we were saying previously, is that we've talked about registering new substances. That's what we've all been doing and playing around with today. But this is not, we haven't talked much about how you update substances or how to improve substance records. All these things are fairly similar, so it's not, we don't know, another whole painful workshop for you to go through each one of those things again, but that the concept of it is fairly simple. To tell you conceptually what happens is, to register a new substance as we've done today. So, for example, this record, I have registered, I said that it was a range. I looked it through and said, ignore it after there are duplicates and so on, ignore everything that's all these warnings. Gone all the way over here, I reminded myself that it's nonsense. And if I'd like to at this point, it still doesn't have a unique identifier. If we look in the codes table, no unique identifier that shows up here, nor was there one on the initial record as I went into it. But however, click approve. You'll notice first it says I'm not allowed to approve my own edit, which is exactly what we'd wanted to do. Mary and Frank can approve all their own edits. Oh, we're almost supposed to tell you that. What I can do is I can manually still change things here, and all I have to do is press the OK button. It will go back to the server, and it can save that. So I just wanted to show it as an example. Right now, this is very simple.
What's up these years? We have each other.
Yeah. If I click OK, I've updated the record successfully. If I'd like to see just a history view, right now we have a very limited history view, but it will show you what that record has been. Especially pointing to the right record. This is the new. You'll have history view. No, this is something else. I'll show you. But you'll be able to browse between all the changes that have been made to that record and revert those changes that you'd like to see. But if, for instance, somebody were to approve it now, if I had Noel go in and approve this record, which I think is displaying it, generate an identifier to the specified algorithm by the API, and consider that to be approved.
You are only approving for your own installation.
Well, your installations to see what you've done.
If you send the data to the data will approve the game.
Yeah, they'll decide what to do with it, whether, if you were a trusted party, we may just automatically then assign it a uni or something, or like that.
No, I think it describes the other
process.
It describes the other group of how they want to do with the data that you put.
Yeah, perm injected or something, we'd probably just automatically bring it in, or do the same for me.
Now when you're editing substance, is it blocked for a second user or edit?
So that's a great question. The way this is actually done very asynchronously. So the technical way this is done really is just by taking the full object, so they're able to edit it, and they're just reposting it. It is obvious that if someone has come in from the time that you have since you've received the record to the time you've added a new record, that you really want to double check that you're not just calling whatever the changes they put on there. Right, there actually is not a check. There's 2 users in the system, and it's not yet happened. But that's one of the first. As soon as I go home tonight, that actually happened. if there are any other questions with regard to updating our approval, I just want to mention that as of this moment, to deprecate a substance is we don't have a official mechanism to do that. We never actually get rid of any of the history. The history stays with you forever. We have not just added a flag to say it's deprecated, but we will have to do that in the future. So if any comments on how people would prefer deprecation mechanism that people like for deprecation, at least from the FDA perspective, the deprecation will be rare for a full substance, but it might not be so rare for individual fields, of course. Change law happens quite often.
That's when you deprecate the substance, or to indicate what alternative is that will be your technology. One of the things that very commonly happens in the life cycle of substance, they actually know that this particular enantiomer rotates flame polarized like clockwise. Okay, they may not know if you an X-ray structure which absolute configuration that represents. Okay, so that substance hasn't changed, just the data is limited, right? So that's an improvement on the definition once you actually know what it really is. You know, in your data system, that is, and you're always limited by how much information you have about the thing to describe it. If we have, you know, these times something gets to where you stand stage, we've nailed it down quite well. Okay, but in that process of getting there, usually it has to be accumulated. You kind of wait until you have all the data before you enter the substance in your system.
There's other very tricky kind of concepts that we've sort of shown briefly. We have we have a general discussion around, which is the merging and the splitting of a substance record. So our current strategy will be that in general, merges will probably be done mostly by hand, and splitting, same way we'll do mostly by hand. Merging will almost certainly involve the deprecation of record and the import of all the elements that you'd like inside of there. And splitting will unfortunately be a similarly manual process going forward. Ability, for instance, because of the way we do references, and we have each piece of data has references, certain possibility if you found that you pulled in these references from this place and these from this place, to pull only these references and apply it to the substance and only these references to that. But I think in general, our strategy will be that this is a manual process for now.
Part of the things that are sort of borderline between, let's say, small molecule and where in the level of that substance you decide that it should be on the side of the line.
So there's two times that happens. So I'm really glad you brought this up. It's a perfect example. There's two kinds of ways this kind of thing can happen when something is there. One is that your first information was totally valid, which is a weird do it, and then there's a better way to do it. And then the other kind where your information was not valid, and you decided to correct it. So this one is fairly easy to some extent, in that the concept of alternative definition. So when you, in the alternative definition screen, or also through the API if you want to do this, you can always register so it meets the schema, the same the substance definition, the different parts of that substance definition. Alternative rather than as a primary substance. So for instance, started with something they said, this is a small molecule. That's really a protein. They could substitute definition as being a protein and keep the small molecule alternative. That makes sense. So they're getting rid of the original record. You're just saying this is considered to be sort of a reference the general philosophy that we have for the system, and especially, I mean, for the software, we're a little agnostic here, but if I can speak a little bit to Larry and their general procedure, they encourage through the ISO standard, is not so much the exact defining element, exact written, that's important. It's the meaning behind the substance that you're trying to describe that's important. That has actually changed significantly. If the thing that you're meaning to describe is totally different, then of course that would change an identifier. In the case that Frank had mentioned, there are two totally legitimate ways to register a chemical substance. One of them is an objective one. One of them is as specifying the optical activity, or the relative configuration of optical activity. The other one is to do the absolute configuration. And one of them is just much better than the other. It's much more precise, even though they're equivalent, even though they use much information. So if in that case, if you're switching between those two, that's not actually you haven't changed what you're describing. You just change how you're describing it.
But again, the identifiers into real material. There have been cases seen with INN names where the structure was slightly wrong or something, and then wouldn't change the identifier because again, all the data is tied to that, and and so we would then change the definition.
Well, we see this with a lot of monoclonal antibodies. The same material. In INN, you look at USAN, you look at chemical extracts. They have three different sequences.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff. The way that they chose to represent it.
The terminal lysines, whether you put them on, they get trimmed, or and the way we should handle that is a mixture, but it's hard enough putting one monoclonal in that we don't want to put three in, and when we have your tool, we'll do that. It's easier. But
Well, we've seen the same application.
yeah.
The same monoclonal with sequences.
Yeah.
The same application.
Yeah, we have to go to the company. And that's happened more than once, Yeah. Previous one that they were. And technically, if you change that, it really should be a new IND. It really changed the substance to the new. But there may have been a couple of cases where that may not have happened.
But just transcription error can happen too.
Yeah.
Even after the application, we get the application. Well, we're working on processes to minimize those now, but we used to do a little things by hand. And when you hand transcription, looking at a page, trying to get it into the system, people make mistakes. A lot of
A little bit more tomorrow as we discuss the API and migration tools. But a significant point of our effort lately has just been trying to break the data in the FDA currently has into this general schema, and frankly, being able to use or just to validate a view of this makes some sort of sense. So very focus has been on doing that and the schema, and of course now we'll try to forward with that. We'll explain some of this a little bit more. So if there is about data lifecycle, I hate to jump any other topic.
Directly related to the data lifecycle, but you showed yesterday of the kind of the architecture of the system. And there was indexes. Just wanted to understand how those indexes are used in general, or is it just
Geek out a bit. I have so much I could say about this. But, so it's used in several different ways. So there's the Lucian index, which is used sort of an index that's used for quick text searching. So it's used in a lot of places now for doing anything that deals with sort of free text indexing. A lot of very neat things with that distance, general features. That's like a lot is the interesting to me and nobody else is the chemical indexes. So in general, for doing chemical structure searching very quickly. A typical way that you do this is by making some chemical fingerprint. Chemical fingerprint is showing just certain features that exist or don't exist inside of a chemical structure. And from that, you can do some set matching of a query chemical structure to find out what feature set is in comparison to the other feature set. So while it's actually a graph theory problem usually to do a chemical structure search, you're saying, is this isomorphic to this other one? For these cases, these indexes help you do that much faster. And I'll go on for a lot longer than that, so you probably should stop me. Are there any general questions about this? Or I don't mean to restrict to this. I think we're probably too far along to jump into any other particular topic, but I think general reactions, general concepts, general thoughts